Dairy farmers, they are early risers.
That they are, milking cows while many of us are fast asleep. The tradition spans generations for many Ohioans, but pressures within the industry are forcing family-owned dairy farms out of business. In 2011, there were more than 3,000 dairy farms in our state. Now, there are about 1,600. The odds may be against them, so you may be surprised to learn that some are doubling down rather than looking for the nearest exit strategy. And they're finding creative ways for their cows to earn their keep.
Come on, girls, go.
5 a.m. in New Vienna.
Come on, girls, get.
The sky is dark, the air is cold, and it's raining. 19-year-old Maggie Matthews is hard at work.
Come on, girls, get. Let's go. Come on, big mamas.
Dairy farming is not for the faint of heart.
It's a dirty job.
But it's a tradition she holds close.
For me, it's the quickest way to see the product of your labor because it's instant almost.
Maggie is third generation. New Horizon Farm and Dairy spans 60 years and stretches 300 acres. Her mother, Jackie, and stepfather, Donald, run the operation.
Well, you got to want to do it and you got to love it, or else it gets pretty boring just milking cows every single day.
At one point, they say they were close to calling it quits. Jackie says the dairy industry went upside down in 2015, and the future was bleak.
My husband and I stuck it out for about a year and a half, and we were seriously discussing an exit strategy.
In the middle of those discussions was Maggie, at the time 16 years old, with an idea of her own.
We did a class project where we had to come up with a business plan in ag class. So my idea for the project was to have my own bottling plant.
She shared her business plan with her parents, and Happy Cows Creamery was born.
The farm is much more sustainable and financially healthy than it was 5 years ago. Still have a little bit of ways to go, but definitely we see growth and expansion every year.
Who knows? Maggie may just have a few more ideas up her sleeve.
I am going to esthetician school, and with that opportunity, I still get to be involved in the ag industry because eventually I want to have my own skincare line, and I want to do a set of products that is local grown, so different kinds of lotions and stuff made with products local to where we're living at.
Until then, like their slogan says, it's local dairy from their farm to your fridge.
All right, so Donald, Jackie, Maggie, and the rest of the family sell their milk on property and through the help of Market Wagon. The online grocery store provided the money needed to purchase the bottling equipment. It connects Happy Cows Creamery and more than 75 other farmers to customers throughout Columbus and Cincinnati. Donald and Jackie both attribute much of their recent success to Maggie's idea and Market Wagon's help. We're joined now by Spectrum News 1 agriculture expert Andy Vance. Pretty cool stuff, Andy.
Yeah, it's a great story. I always love seeing how farmers get innovative to make it happen.
Yes, exactly. So when we look at their situation and we look at the situation of farms all across the state, there's multiple types of farms, right? Small family farms, mid-sized family farms, large-scale family farms, and non-family farms. So when we look at small family farms, we're going to throw a little bit of numbers up here. 89% of farms are small family farms, but that 89% only owns 45% of the land and 18% of the production. So can you explain why that is?
Yeah, it's the old 80-20 rule. You know, we used to say that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. Usually you're talking about that in a club or a board organization, volunteer work. But in this case, you have actually 10% of the farms producing something like 80%, almost 90% of the value of farm production. So in other words, most of the food that's produced out there is produced on larger farms. But 89%, as you said, of the farms are actually qualified as small farms, numbers of farms. So you have a lot of small farms, a few very large farms. And I think it's also important to say, you know, 90% of all farms are family farms. So when we talk about family farms, that really is the vast majority of farms out there. This is a trend that's developed over many, many years. Some of it is due to just typical economies of scale, normal maturation of an industry. As an industry gets more mature, it tends to consolidate, you know, companies buy one another. We could be talking about this in any industry. Same with farms as well, which are, at the end of the day, for the most part, businesses.
All right, so the trend, you said it's been happening for a long time, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down at all. So if you want to make that small family farm your main source of income, is that even possible? And if it is, what do you have to do?
Yeah, it's a real challenge, and I think this story actually of the family figuring out, okay, our dairy isn't working for us anymore. They're on the verge of shutting this thing down. They decided to get a little innovative in their marketing strategy. So instead of simply selling their milk to another dairy to process it and turn it into fluid milk or cheese or yogurt or whatever else, they've decided to cut out the middleman, so to speak, and do that processing themselves. What's interesting is it's kind of the idea of everything old is new again, because back in the day, so to speak, a lot of farms did that. They weren't necessarily bottling at scale, but you had the local milkman who was dropping off milk on the porch every day, and you were really a set of smaller processors, a lot of times farm processors, taking their own products out to the marketplace. Now, what has happened over time, and this is true again of all industries, specialization happens. So the farmer said, hey, I can specialize in just raising cows, milking cows, and be more effective at that than I can at being a farmer, bottling, processing, marketing, etc. But if you want to be a small farmer, doing those value-added things, direct to consumer sales, further processing your own products, that's the way to make it happen. If you're just trying to make it by milking 20 or 30 cows yourself, you're not going to be able to do that profitably.
All right, so focusing still on income, small family farms, many of them are run by retirees or people with off-farm income. I know we've talked about that a lot in previous ag reports. So most of those show negative income when it comes to the farm itself. Why is that, and is there a way to fix that?
Yeah, I think first of all is the question of, is that a problem? So a lot of times I think people look at that and say, oh my gosh, that's terrible. But you have to understand sometimes you're choosing a lifestyle. A lot of times when I think about the retirees that own a large percentage of farmland, or if I'm thinking about people that maybe have an off-farm income, they want the lifestyle of being able to live on the farm, to own that farm. It's maybe no different than if you or I wanted to take up golfing or fishing or hunting, in that sense that you're spending your time in an enjoyable occupation. And so how do you do that? Well, you do it by subsidizing it through something else, like having an off-farm job, or maybe you've retired and decided to leave town and go out to the farm, and that's how you want to spend your days, feeding cows or planting a few acres of corn or so on. Is that a problem that needs to be solved? I'm not sure that it is. I think what people really talk about when they talk about the problem there is things like generational transfer of farms. Is that retiree keeping a young farmer from being able to come into the business by holding the farm longer and not selling the land? Because that's the biggest barrier to getting into farming, is being able to own land. That's a different problem and challenge, but I don't know how you solve that either. We're living longer, and if I own a farm and I want to live on that farm and I want to spend my days there, who's to say that's the wrong thing?
And you got to love it, right? Like Donald said, you got to love it, because otherwise milking cows all day can get kind of boring.
You're not getting up at 4 a.m. every morning to milk cows because, you got to go to work every day. You got to have a little bit of love for that kind of lifestyle.
Got it. Andy Vance, as always, thank you. And if you at home would like to learn more about this topic or catch up on all of our previous ag reports, head to our website, SpectrumNews1.com, or the free Spectrum News app.